The CBS 21 Political Insiders with Rob Hanrahan.
And I'm here with the CBS 21 Political Insiders, Democratic strategist Mark Sengel and Republican strategist Charlie Gerow. Guys, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
This is a big week, it has been at least, with Roy Moore down in Alabama. And Charlie, I'm going to start with you. 5 women, just allegations coming forward, specific allegations, though, of sexual misconduct and possible abuse, even, of underage females. Should he drop out of this race?
That's up to him, Rob. I mean, everybody's got an opinion. I'm not going to weigh in on that specifically. But what he should do as a professional that has counseled folks that have had allegations made against them is, if they are untrue, to come out, face the media, categorically, not with any reservation, categorically deny them. If he's not willing to do that, then you get into a tumble of some very unpleasant realities.
So you're saying when he comes out and he says it's all political, that's really not a denial?
That's not a denial.
That's not strong enough. Mark?
Well, it's a ridiculous thing to say. Clearly, he did some despicable things early in his life, and he's lying through his teeth about it right now. So I think he ought to step aside, just as Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan has urged him to do. If he fails to do that, and he still wins the special election, I think that the U.S. Senate has every right and probably will expel him. So do us all a favor, step aside.
Well, that's
do it
what I
now.
wanted to get to Charlie about, because he does still have a lot of support in Alabama, Charlie, and there's a good chance he will win this election. Do you think the U.S. Senate would really take enough action to take him out?
Here's the interesting thing about all that, Rob. He would have to be seated. There's no legal procedure under which, that I understand anyway, under which he could not be seated. So the question then becomes, will the U.S. Senate expel him? That requires a 2/3 vote. That's a pretty high bar that you have to meet. It has never been done for conduct prior to service in office. The expulsions from the U.S. Senate, and there have been some, have all been for conduct that occurred while you were in office. The thought being that conduct that occurred before you got there was up to the voters to determine whether or not they wanted that kind of person to represent them. Once you were there, voters wouldn't have had that opportunity, so the Senate would, in effect, take their place. So there are some very, very interesting questions there.
All right, Mark, you were testifying today before a group of senators, I believe state senators, talking about Senate Bill 761, I believe it is,
Yes.
that would change the way we elect our lieutenant governor and governor.
Senator Argyle actually has a good idea. What he's saying is that instead of taking a chance and allowing the governor and the lieutenant governor to run separate campaigns in a primary election, and then whoever wins teams up, that we ought to allow the gubernatorial candidate to select the lieutenant governor candidate, much like we do at the federal level,
yeah.
Which makes sense, because you run the risk of having a team that's just not compatible with each other. So in order to lessen that risk and to make sure that the lieutenant governor can be as helpful to the governor as possible, team up from the start and get to know each other and be prepared to work as a team for the Commonwealth.
Well, we know you had to step up for Governor Casey at the time. Charlie, this would take some time, though.
It'll take some time, and theoretically, at the national level, there's not a prescription in law that candidates get to pick their vice presidential running mate. The law says that the parties do it. The parties have always given great credence to the party's standard bearer in terms of who the vice presidential nominee would be, but not always. And you are correct, Rob. This will take a long time. It's a constitutional provision, which means that it has to pass through the General Assembly twice on 2 consecutive sessions and then be ratified by the voters in a referendum.
All right, we'll see where it goes, guys. You can always check out our Political Insiders on Sunday mornings right here on our program Face the State. That's Sunday mornings at 8:30. Again, gentlemen, thanks.